I knew the moment my son flicked that crumpled bill across the table that he wasn't just insulting me, he was burying me alive. Some men get killed once. My own son had been killing me slowly for years. My name is John Rourke. I'm 73 years old. And for most of my life I built the foundations other men stood on, buildings, bridges, companies. But the one thing I couldn't build was a son who saw value in anything that didn't shine. Brandon leaned back in his expensive tailored suit, smirking like he already owned the world. His wife, Vanessa, let out one of those cold little laughs that always sounded like she practiced them in the mirror. "Yeah, $50, Dad," Brandon said. "Guess Mom thought that's what you were worth." I didn't blink. I didn't argue. I flattened the bill, slid it into my shirt pocket, and nodded toward the lawyer. "Read the next page!" "There is no next page!" Brandon snapped. "Take your charity money and go!" But the lawyer didn't move, and my son's smile began to die. Before any of this, before the explosion, I walked into Catherine's funeral quietly, in my rusty '98 pickup wedged between luxury cars that cost more than my cabin. Security tried to send me to the back entrance. My own son backed them up. "Don't talk to anyone," he whispered. "Don't tell people you're my father. Just sit in the back and try not to embarrass me." So I stood with the housekeepers while Brandon posed for cameras and dabbed fake tears. Vanessa scrolled her phone during the eulogy. They weren't mourning Catherine. They were waiting for the will, and they thought they already knew the ending. The next morning in Manhattan, they didn't even hide their smugness. Brandon had his feet on the conference table. Vanessa told me not to stain the furniture. I sat anyway. The lawyer read through the assets: mansions, penthouses, investments, antiques. Numbers so big they didn't sound real anymore. Brandon's eyes shined with greed, his leg bouncing like a child waiting for dessert. Quick reminder: if you're enjoying this, hit subscribe. Now back to the story. Then came the long-awaited part. To my ex-husband, I leave $50. Brandon burst into laughter so loud it rattled the table. But I didn't react. I touched the bill. I breathed, and I asked, "Is that all?" "Yes," Brandon snapped. "That's all. Meeting over." The lawyer turned the page. "No, Mr. Rourke, that is not all." Brandon's smile froze. "All remaining assets, approximately $200 million, shall be placed into the Rourke Family Trust." Brandon grinned. "Perfect. I'm the trustee, and the sole protector, with full authority over every dollar, is John Rourke." Silence. The kind that makes your ears ring. My son blinked at me like he had never seen me before. No, that's wrong. He got $50. He doesn't get the rest. He can't even balance a checkbook." I stood, pushing the chair back slowly. "For 20 years, I let you believe I was poor. I let you believe I was weak. I let you treat me like a stray dog on your mother's property. I wanted to see if you would ever choose kindness on your own." I looked him dead in the eyes. "You failed." Vanessa's jaw dropped. Brandon's face turned the color of old paper. Then the lawyer cleared his throat. "And one more thing. Brandon, you owe $5 million to some very dangerous people. Payment was promised today." Brandon's arrogance evaporated. "Dad, please. They'll kill me. You have to pay. Please." "I'll do anything." I pulled out the folded 50, placed it in front of him. "You're gonna need this more than I do. Lunch money." His hands shook. His eyes filled with a fear he didn't know how to swallow. But the real twist, the one that would flip this entire story upside down, was waiting for me outside. And she was wearing red heels. The air outside the law office felt colder than Manhattan wind. I hadn't even made it to the crosswalk when I heard the click-clack of expensive heels chasing me down. "Dad, wait!" Vanessa, looking suddenly angelic. Softer voice, gentler eyes. Like the past 2 hours of venom had been wiped from her memory. She grabbed my arm with both hands, squeezing like we were old friends. "We were shocked upstairs," she breathed. "But now that we understand Catherine's vision, it makes sense. Having you run the trust, it's wise. Responsible. We're relieved, truly." I stared at her hands on my sleeve. 10 minutes ago, she told me not to stain imported leather. Now she was touching me like I held the keys to heaven. Brandon caught up, breathing hard, trying to put humility back on like an ill-fitting coat. Dad, come on. You shouldn't be living in that cabin. It's not safe. Drafty. Old. Move into the mansion. You're the protector now. You should live like it. Vanessa nodded eagerly. Yes. The master suite, ocean view, heated floors. You belong with us now. We can be a real family again. A real family. Now that they needed me. Now that every dollar in their world belonged to the man they treated like a stain. I pulled my arm free. I'm not moving into the mansion. Their smiles cracked. Why not? Brandon demanded. You control it. Because that cabin is the only honest thing on that property, I said. I built it with my own hands when I had nothing left. It sheltered me when everyone else turned their back. Brandon scoffed. Oh, please, Dad. You act like you're some tragic hero. You lost everything because you were bad with money. Mom told me you made terrible investments. That's why she had all the fortune and you had that truck. That did it. Something inside me didn't snap violently. It clicked, like a safe unlocking. I stepped closer and Brandon backed up a half-inch, instinctively. You think I was broke because of bad investments? I asked quietly. That's what Mom said, he muttered. Mom lied, I said. To protect you. Brandon went still. 20 years ago, I continued, you came home shaking. Said you hit something on the dark road near the bridge. You said it was a deer. His face drained white. It wasn't a deer, Brandon. It was a young man. And you fled the scene. Vanessa's hand shot to her mouth. She looked at Brandon like she didn't know him at all. You were facing 10 years in prison, I said. Vehicular manslaughter. Leaving the scene. Reckless driving. He whispered. Dad, stop. I liquidated everything to save you, I continued. My company. My retirement. My home. I sold every asset I owned to keep you out of prison. Catherine put the remaining money in her name so the lawsuits wouldn't touch it. We divorced to protect the family. I stared at him. The man who now used that lie as a reason to disrespect me. I didn't lose everything because I was stupid. I lost everything because I saved you. Brandon's lips trembled. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. That cabin? I said. It wasn't a symbol of failure. It was the price of your freedom. I turned and walked away. They stood frozen on the sidewalk. Vanessa horrified. Brandon hollowed out. I thought I would get peace when I returned to my cabin. I was wrong. Because the next morning, Brandon showed up banging on my door at sunrise. Eyes bloodshot, clothes disheveled, breathing like prey. Dad, sign this! He shoved a check toward me, hands shaking. $250,000. A shell company name. Not happening, I said. This isn't part of your rehabilitation plan. They sent a picture of Olivia walking into preschool, he whispered. His voice cracked. They're watching my daughter! My granddaughter! In danger because of his stupidity. I didn't flinch. If I bent now, he'd never stop. I'm hiring private security for Olivia and Vanessa, I said. But I'm not paying extortion. He started pacing, running his hands through his hair until strands tore loose. You don't get it. These people don't wait for a plan. They want their money. They want you dependent, scared, and paying forever. I said. I'm not feeding the wolves. Before he could argue, a truck pulled into my driveway. County Animal Shelter logo on the side. Brandon stared. What is that? I didn't answer. Sarah? The shelter director stepped out holding a clipboard. Mr. Rourke? You said you had news today? I invited her in. Brandon watched with confusion and rage simmering under his skin. The shelter still needs funding? I asked. Yes, about $50,000 short. I opened the trust checkbook, wrote $50,000, signed it, handed it to her. Sarah burst into grateful tears. Brandon burst into fury. You gave $50,000 to a DOG shelter? He shouted. While your own son is being hunted? I sat back down. It's not your money, Brandon? And those dogs didn't lie to me for 20 years. He snapped. Truly snapped. He grabbed a wooden chair, one I built myself, lifted it, and smashed it against the floor. Wood splintered everywhere. He smashed it again and again, until nothing was left but shards and dust. He stood panting, sweat dripping, looking like a man unraveling thread by thread. "You want me dead," he hissed. "You want this." "If I wanted you dead," I said quietly, "I would have let the police take you 20 years ago." Something broke in him, he sagged. "What do I do?" he whispered. "You go home," I said. "You wait for the security team, and you look at your wife and child and decide if they're worth more than your ego." He left carrying the broken chair leg, a piece of a life he'd shattered. But as his car disappeared down the road, I checked the security cameras I'd installed. A black sedan had passed minutes before. Passenger window down. Camera pointed at my cabin. They weren't watching Brandon anymore. They were watching me. I whispered into the silence, "Let them come." But the real danger wasn't the men in the black sedan. It was the woman who stormed into my cabin that same night with a plan to send me to a mental institution. The sun hadn't even set when the door to my cabin exploded inward. It wasn't Brandon this time. It was Vanessa. But not the perfectly polished woman from the funeral. Her hair was wild, makeup smeared, blouse torn at the cuff. Her eyes burned with the kind of desperate ambition that ruins entire families. She locked the door behind her. "You think you've won, old man?" she hissed, pacing like a cornered animal. "You think cutting the cards and humiliating us gives you power forever? You have no idea who you're dealing with." I didn't stand. "You're dealing with a woman who married a bank account, not a son," I said. "Go home, Vanessa. This isn't your fight." "Oh, it's exactly my fight," she smirked, a cold, razor-thin smile. "I know how the law works. If a senior like you is ruled unstable or dangerous, the state can strip your rights. Emergency guardianship, institutionalization, and once they lock you up, I get power of attorney." She reached toward the fireplace, grabbed the iron poker, held it like a weapon. "What are you planning?" I asked. Vanessa didn't answer. Instead, she screamed, a blood-curdling shriek. "Stop! Pleasedon!" Hurt me. Before I could react, she swung the poker, not at me, but at my glass cabinet full of family photos. Glass exploded across the room. Quick reminder, if you're enjoying this, hit subscribe. Now back to the story. She screamed again. "He has a weapon. He's attacking me." Then she slammed her shoulder into the wall, hard enough to bruise, dragged her nails across her own face, ripped her blouse open at the shoulder. Then she dialed 911. "Please help. My father-in-law is out of control. He locked me in. He's hitting me. Please send someone. He's dangerous." She hung up and looked at me. Smirk returned. "You're finished, Rourke. 5 minutes from now, the police will see an unstable old man who attacked a young woman. You're going to a facility tonight." I didn't run. I didn't argue. I sat back down and waited. 4 minutes later, red and blue lights lit up the room. The door burst open. Officers stormed in, guns drawn. "Hands. Show your hands." I lifted them calmly. Vanessa wailed on the floor, her self-inflicted cuts glowing red. "He attacked me," he snapped. "Look at what he did." An officer glared at me with disgust. "Get on the ground." They cuffed me. Cold steel bit into my wrists. "You have the right to remain." "Officer," I interrupted calmly, "before you take me out of here, you need to secure evidence. There's glass everywhere. We see the evidence." "No," I said, raising my eyes toward the ceiling, at the tiny black circle blinking red. My cloud security camera recorded everything. Vanessa's scream died in her throat. Her face went sheet white. "Check it," the officer said. They pulled my phone from my pocket, entered the passcode I gave them. "Open the feed." Vanessa's voice filled the room. "Emergency guardianship. He goes to a facility. Then I control the money." Her entire performance played back in perfect HD. Every scream, every lie, every self-inflicted injury. The officer watching the screen turned slowly toward her. "Ma'am, turn around. Hands behind your back." Vanessa shook her head violently. No, that's deepfake. He tricked you. It's AI, you can't." But the cuffs clicked shut. the same cuffs they'd put on me. You're under arrest for filing a false report, criminal mischief, and attempted fraud. They dragged her out, kicking and screaming, threatening lawsuits, threatening vengeance. I watched from the window as they shoved her into the cruiser. Her eyes met mine one last time, still full of hatred, but now layered with fear. Good. Because the war wasn't over. After the officers left and the cabin fell silent again, I sat alone, swept the glass, and made notes. Vanessa was finished, but Brandon wasn't done falling. Not yet. I called the private investigator. "It's time," I said. "Bring her in." "You're sure?" he asked. "Yes." Because earlier that day I'd met a girl who didn't know she was family. Didn't know she had Rourke blood. Didn't know she had a grandfather. Her name was Maya. Brandon's hidden daughter. The one he buried with a lump sum payoff. The one he abandoned before she was old enough to speak. The one working double shifts at a diner to survive. Unlike Brandon, she had fire. Unlike Vanessa, she had dignity. Unlike all of them, she had heart. The next morning she walked into my cabin. Cautious, nervous, exhausted from life. "Mr. Rourke?" she asked. "Your investigator said you wanted to see me." "Something about business?" I looked at her. Saw Catherine's eyes. Saw the future my son had thrown away. Saw the heir Brandon would never deserve to be. "Maya," I said quietly, "sit down. There's something you need to know about your family." She frowned, confused. "I don't have family," she said. I nodded slowly. "You do now." Her life was about to change. Brandon's life was about to implode. And mine was about to shift into something I hadn't felt in 20 years. Purpose. Because the next move wasn't about money. It wasn't about revenge. It wasn't even about teaching my son a lesson. It was about giving everything I built to someone who actually deserved the weight of my name. As Maya sat across from me, I felt something break open in my chest. Something warm, electric, alive. For the first time in 2 decades, I wasn't fighting against someone. I was fighting for someone. And this time, I wasn't going to lose.